That means they all came out of somebody's backyard, pond, canal, swimming pool, came off the golf course, ate the neighbor's dog, something like that. If you have a nuisance alligator, a trapper's usually called out. Hopefully for you, he catches, moves the alligator. Doesn't matter if that alligator's 3 feet or 13 feet. If it takes him 5 minutes or 5 weeks, he's going to charge you the exact same price every time, and that price is nothing. Alligator removal, absolutely free in the state of Florida. You got a raccoon in the attic, about $300. There's 11-foot alligator in the backyard killing grandma, but don't worry, it's free. Alligator removal is free because the alligator is the payment. The trapper gets to keep the alligator, which he then takes to a processing plant where they will kill it, and he then gets paid for the valuable meat and hide. That's where you get alligator boots, belts, handbags, wallets, all that kind of stuff. Now the state of Florida saves a tremendous amount of money, but more importantly for them, they save liability by not hiring and paying a trapper. They just let them keep and harvest the animal. That way when your arm gets ripped off, no workman's compensation to worry about, no disability. Scratch your name off the list and get a new trapper. Now the lucky ones, alligators that is, I will buy off those trappers or I trap myself. I am a licensed trapper here in the state of Florida. One of a very few, if not the only, committed non-kill trapper in the whole state. There's not too many non-kill trappers in the state because, quite frankly, not many people are dumb enough to work 30 to 60 hours a week for free. Especially trying to save an animal that desperately wants to rip your face off the first time that you meet them. And when I get a gator, they will generally come here overnight. They then get relocated to a wildlife preserve down in Homestead. They can never truly go back to the wild. Any nuisance alligator that exceeds 4 feet in length, according to Florida state law, must be kept in captivity or be destroyed. Only 2 options. They tried to relocate these guys years ago when they were endangered. Gator ate your dog. They put them 50 miles out in the Everglades. 2 months later, your new puppy would vanish. That same gator found his way home. Relocate him a second time to an even more remote location. 4 or 5 months later, you turn around somehow, some way, he's back at the house and won't leave. My sister had a boyfriend like that at one time. Don't trust me, him I got rid of. Thanks, guys. Yeah, go ahead and laugh. Make it seem like it didn't really happen. Now, what we do in this pit is alligator wrestling. There's 3 or 4 guys who volunteered their time here to do these shows. We're not employees of the park. That is due to liability again. It's the same as a trapper. Apparently, all lawyers think alligators are absolutely ferocious. Therefore, the only money we do take in, believe it or not, does come solely to the tip basket you see down the end. On the 2 days a week that I'm here, the money goes to the alligators. Not directly, because I tried that and they blow it all on gambling and booze. Now we kind of have this fiduciary relationship where I use it to help pay for the food, the vet bills, buying the gators off the other trappers, enclosures for sick and injured animals, equipment to catch these guys. It essentially helps me to fund the rescue. I'm actually trying to start a crocodile rescue down in Australia. I was just down there this past year with Animal Planet. It's become a lot more expensive than I ever dreamed of. So at this point, I don't care if it's a handful of pocket change with hair and gum in it, $1, a nickel, a bent penny. Trust me, nothing's too small at this point. Every little bit helps out, all adds up, it's all appreciated. Now the alligator wrestling itself, it is not like wrestling on television. I actually have to say that. Some people really think that it's going to be like headlocks and body slams. And young boys in particular get very disappointed. Because right now my man's hoping I grab a folding chair, start smashing alligators in the head. Not that kind of wrestling. If you came to see the old man versus beast thing, you're in the wrong place. That's my family behind me. I'm not going to kick, punch, or hurt the alligator in any way. I'm not going to be poking at him with a stick or anything like that. All alligator wrestling is the old Seminole Indian capture techniques mimicked in a pit like this with a few stunts thrown in. Now, for those of you who may be familiar with a television show we had on Animal Planet called Gator Boys, or any one of the crocodile specials I filmed over the years, you may notice a different reaction between the gators who you've seen me catch on television and the gators you see in this pit. If I get this close to a wild alligator or crocodile, it's going to do one of 2 things. I guarantee you neither of which is this. He's going to either A, make some huge explosive move, attack me out of self-defense, fearing that I'm some sort of a predator, some kind of a threat, or more than likely make an equally explosive move but only to escape. Either way, there'll be some massive explosion of energy. Anyone? Any explosive moves? Yeah, these guys don't do a whole lot of that stuff. They don't do that because almost every gator in this pit's been here long enough to realize I'm not going to hurt them. And once that kind of settles in, there is no real motivation to make these huge explosive movements they're so famous for. Every time you see a wild alligator or crocodile making those explosive movements, it is absolutely exhausting for the animal. These guys are ectothermic or cold-blooded. So they only have a handful of those moves in them before their bodies begin to build up with lactic acid, and eventually they can barely move. So if these guys all know that the worst possible outcome that could ever happen is me sitting on their back over there for about 10 minutes telling some really bad jokes, it's not worth fighting me all out for the next 15 minutes, then being totally exhausted for like the next 2 to 3 hours while that lactic acid slowly remetabolizes. It's just not worth the trade-off. If there's one thing they're good at, besides ruining my life, it's conserving energy. You look at a gator like Stumpy here. Stumpy could probably go a good 4 to 6 months with no food at all. This is what they do for a living, and they're really, really good at it. Doesn't mean they love me and we're friends and we take windy walks together at night. Trust me, Stumpy doesn't love me. Not like he used to. I remember a time when you and I would just sit and talk for hours. I mean, now it's like we don't even communicate. I reach out and you withdraw. Well, I can't fix it if I don't know what's broken. Don't pull away. Say something. I'm giving up on you. You know what the really sad part is? The sad part is I have these conversations with Stumpy when nobody else is even here. Now again, they don't like me, and they obviously don't really dislike me. They're kind of like my parents around Christmas time. They tolerate me because they feel obligated. Now I do have a certain rotation system I use to try to make sure each gator only does one show throughout the day. It actually is Boris's show right now. Come on, Boris. I got Boris, Tyrese, KRS-One. 3 of the newest gators in here. The dog killer, we got them all. As you can see, Boris is thrilled to do the show. Play dead, that's your best trick. All right, this gator's actually been dead for 2 weeks. But until he starts to stink, I'm going to keep using him. Come on, Boris. This is how we plant flowers down here. You'll notice the nice rows he makes. Probably going to plant some begonias over there. That's a joke, because you can't plant begonias in sand. Everybody knows that. You want to show me your best trick? Go ahead, show him walk the dog. Come on, let's walk the dog. Come on, show him walk the dog. I'm going to take him to South Beach, hit the boardwalk, find that guy with the IROC Z28 gold chain pit bull. Yeah, your dog can smell my dog. Yeah, I got the dog. You want to show him the typewriter? Bing! Kids are going, what's a typewriter? It's a printer with a keyboard. You just can't make one mistake. Sorry, Stumpy. Maybe you should have put a ring on it. Hey. What are you doing? Hey, the drugs are wearing off on this one. Hey. You do realize without me, you'd be a suitcase, right? Just follow the script. You had to put your face in the sand, didn't you? Thought we had a relationship here. Now, if you're a Seminole warrior back in the 1800s, you're out catching alligators. You're doing that to feed your family, but you want to catch them alive. The alligator meat does spoil very quickly in the hot Florida sun. So the first thing you'd want to do, obviously, tie the jaws shut. Now, by yourself, it's a little challenging. You do need 2 hands to tie a good knot, and something has to hold the mouth closed while you're doing that, or you risk losing your fingers in the process. So the Seminoles came up with a technique that we now refer to as bulldogging, holding the jaws closed with your chin and your chest. Free your hands up, give you time to take out leather or rope and tie a knot. If you want to take a picture, wait till both arms go out to the side, or you see the blood pouring down my throat. Usually where I tell the kids to stay in school. Still watching? What's up? Okay, take your pictures quickly. Take out your rope, couple wraps, tie a knot, and you have yourself a coffin-tied alligator. Now, judging by the complete lack of applause, I'm assuming you people are not really impressed with me and the alligator right now.
Yay!
Not the better for my ego. Looking for him after the show. I'll be checking into therapy. Try to redeem myself in a minute or two. In the meantime, we're going to touch on a few different parts of the alligator's anatomy. The eyes of the alligator are very well protected. It's got very deep eye sockets. Anything were to threaten the eyes, they simply drop to the bottom of the eye sockets out of the way of harm. Bony, leathery eyelids come down to help protect them. Lower eyelids like you and I have. He also has a third eyelid called a nictitating membrane. A nictitating membrane. Do it now. A little transparent lens you may have just seen move from front to back. It acts to clean dust and debris away from the eyes. Also acts like a pair of goggles for the alligator in the water. Behind the eyes, alligator's ears. Little flaps right there. Even with the small ears, they still hear just about as well as you and I on land, and they also hear very well under the water. Now, between the ears, behind the eyes, located right about there, alligator's brain, about the size of a walnut. I'm being generous. There's only one animal in the entire world that has a smaller brain to body size ratio. That, of course, is the alligator wrestler. See, I still don't get that joke. No, I'm going to figure it out, though. I mean, probably not today, but I'll figure it out. Now, what separates alligator wrestling from alligator capturing, of course, dangerous stunts, doing a couple of foolish things like we'll do right now. First trick's called the Florida Smile. Going to open the alligator's mouth, showing all 80 teeth. He's got 40 teeth on. Suitcase thing can still happen, my friend. Hey, watch the elbow, I'll be singing soprano. Listen, I make one phone call, you're full of zippers. I can have you a check baggage by next Thursday. That's a joke. Stop messing around. You ready? Try it again? All right, good job. Again, 40 teeth on top, 40 teeth in the bottom. If you look at the back of the throat, it appears he has little to no throat opening. He's got an oversized palatal valve or a glottis, which allows him to go underwater, capture food without drowning. He'll usually then surface above the water to swallow that food. Likes to make it look dangerous sometimes. Be a showman. Hey, showman, you're 0 for 2 in applause. That's not the best word. All right, last trick we're going to do is what's called a face-off, because if by chance I do mess up. Now, this will also going to show you exactly what a bachelor's degree in psychology is now worth from the University of Massachusetts. My parents wasted a lot of money on college, and they don't really appreciate the fact that I make bad jokes about it in an alligator pit. I'm 50 years old. My dad's still telling me to give him his money back. Trust me, that will never happen. Last trick, no hero stuff. This how Bootsy got killed. All they found was a wireless microphone and a pair of Adidas. Sometimes smells amazing, by the way. Hey, I found my keys. So enough of that stuff. Get off the alligator. Best part of the show for me. Probably for Boris too. I like to watch you walk, girl. $50 as you don't make the water. I make it 100. Amazing how fast they move, though, right? That's why you have to run zigzag. Otherwise, they would never catch you. They started that whole thing. Have you ever heard that? Chased by an alligator, run zigzag? That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. They've been pushing that for 50 years in Florida. Don't run zigzag, just run. If you're going to do anything, trip the kids and walk away with dignity. I mean, not your own kids if you can help it. But if it comes down to it, come on, man. They're smaller and faster than we are. They got a much better chance. Especially if you're on vacation. Look, that kid's so hopped up on Mountain Dew and Skittles right now, that gator has no chance. That kid will be doing that reverse matrix flip where he's running upside down. Gator's like, oh crap, it's on Skittles.
Trust me, we've got a bunch of candy, and Mom calls me the generator.
And look, you're wearing Crocs to a gator show, man. That's disrespectful.
I've got some tie shoes.
Yeah, the hardest part about that whole scenario, though, is getting the gator to chase you in the first place, because it doesn't happen. They run away from you, not at you. Most of the gators in here are between 8 and 9 feet. I'm not sure if you noticed, they're 6 inches tall. On land, you're Bigfoot. You tower above them. You're very intimidating. I've had 16, 17-foot crocodiles that outweigh me tenfold run away from me in Costa Rica and Australia. 99% of the time, if you get attacked, which is different than being bitten sometimes. I could have been bitten right there. There's no attack. I'm doing something stupid. But if you get a legitimate attack by an alligator, 99% of the time, you are either in the water or right at the water's edge. And I will guarantee you at least 3 things if you get bitten in the middle of a field. 1, you're a guy. 2, you either said, hold my beer, or hey, watch this, just before you got bit. And number 3, you don't have any kind of a professional name or title. Like if your name is Dr. Reginald Covington, MD, you never get bit by an alligator in the field. Strafford Westgate III. No one in human history named Strafford has ever been bitten by an alligator. Always some guy named Boomer or Cletus or Bubba. There's a whole lot of Bubbas that have been bitten. Statistical fact. All right, guys. With that, that is the end of the show. Again, anything you put in the basket down there does go to help save these beautiful alligators. We always do appreciate that. Thanks for coming out, guys, and God bless.